everyone, it's Spencer here, and before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to just highlight a couple of things that are going on with Link Whisper. Link Whisper is a new WordPress plugin that I launched a few months ago, actually at the end of July of 2019. And over that period of time, we've received a lot of really positive feedback. People are enjoying the features that allow them to build internal links much faster, much easier. As you're writing a blog post, there's link suggestions that are automatically created, and it's easy as checking a few boxes to add those internal links. So it saves you a ton of time. Perhaps an even bigger feature is that it allows you to add inbound internal links to a post that you've just written. So if you have a post that doesn't have any links pointing to it, you can very quickly get suggestions and add 5 or 10 internal links pointing to that particular post. But one feature that we just came out with is the ability to do a keyword search for those inbound internal links. So if you wrote an article on Canva review, for example, which I did for nichepursuits.com just recently, I could do a keyword search for the term Canva, and Link Whisper will pull up all of the places that I've mentioned Canva, all the articles that mention the word Canva on Niche Pursuits, and then as easy as just checking a box, I can add an internal link to that Canva review article from a relevant, keyword-rich internal link from another post, saving me tons of time that I might have had to do to Google which articles on my site mention the keyword, going in and editing, etc. Overall, I just wanted to tell you that I'm really excited about the progress we've made on Link Whisper. I have tons of new feature ideas that I plan on coming out with, but it's been very well received, and I hope that you'll consider checking it out and saving yourself some time if you're into that sort of thing, building internal links on your website. And if you are, you can go check it out at linkwhisper.com. Again, that's linkwhisper.com. Thanks for listening in, and we'll jump into today's episode. Hey everyone, it's Spencer Hawes here with another episode of the Niche Pursuits podcast. I'm excited to have a guest on the show today. I've got Matt Diggity from diggitymarketing.com and authority.builders and a few other things that we'll talk about in the interview. But Matt and I have connected over the years. We've both been in the SEO affiliate marketing game for quite a number of years. And so it was great to finally have him on the podcast and to talk about his business and his story and the things that he's built. He just recently finished up his SEO conference in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which is where he lives and has been for a long time. But he's got the biggest SEO conference there in Thailand. 800 people were there in attendance just this past week before we recorded the interview. And so he has a lot to share from both things that he learned and the speakers that shared there in the conference, but also just throughout his story. Matt, his background, he was an electrical engineer, and then he somehow got into building websites, affiliate websites, and I'll let him share that story, and now is specializing in SEO, in link building. And so we'll talk specifically about Matt and how he is buying affiliate websites, building them up, and flipping them. And it's a really cool business model. Specifically, we'll look at how he buys a website, or even before he buys it, he'll do a content audit, how he'll look for ways that he can improve on that site, and then also on-page optimization. He's got some great tips there. He's also got some great tips, of course, for link building, and we dive into specifically some outreach strategies that you can use, because you definitely need to be getting very real links, and the way to do that is through outreach. So he walks you through how you can stand out a little bit more and how you can make sure you're finding links that are relevant, that truly have trust, have that page rank, and overall have that power and are really going to move the needle for your website. So in all, we have a great discussion on business and what Matt has been able to build, but also SEO and some very specific tactics that you can apply to your business. So with that, here's Matt. Hey, Matt, welcome to the Niche Pursuits podcast.
Hey, Spencer, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. We've connected over the years, emailed and sort of, just been able to connect through networking and different things a little bit, but haven't actually done a call together. So this will be kind of fun to get to know you a little bit better and hear your story as well.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it.
So before we dive into your background and your story and everything, I do understand that you just wrapped up your SEO conference in Chiang Mai, Thailand. How was it?
It was really good. Yeah, we touched upon it before the call, but it went really, really good in all aspects. I mean, the networking events went good. The parties went good. We had workshops before, but the incredible thing about it is all the speakers crushed it this year, which it was amazing as a conference holder, because usually, sometimes the speakers don't connect with everybody, but I've gotten stellar feedback all around, which puts the pressure on for 2020, man. I tell you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to relax, but now I'm already planning 2020.
Awesome. So how long have you been doing the conference now?
This was the third one. So
Okay.
the first one was 2017, but the year before that, we had what we called the Chiang Mai SEO Invitational Mastermind, where we just got I think about 50 of the world's top SEOs, people doing at least 20K a month, something like that or above, in various niches. And we invited them to Chiang Mai and, have a week of partying, but also a lot of business and masterminding. And then that went so well. And I just got this wild hair up my ass. I was like, okay, I want everyone to experience this. Let's just have a conference. That looks easy. And then That's how the conference was born. And now it's just continuing forward.
And it's pretty well attended in terms of, it's not a super small event. It's like over 700 attendees or pretty close to that, right?
Yeah, we got 800 this year.
Wow.
And that seemed to be the cap. That's the biggest venue we could get for this in Chiang Mai. I think any more people we'd cram in would be way too tight. And I'm not really interested in leaving Chiang Mai on this and upgrading to Bangkok or something like that. There will be deaths on my hands if we move to Bangkok. So keep it chill.
All right. Sounds good. So probably keep it about the same size, but it sounds like it's probably not only a really educational and good conference, but it probably sounds like it's a lot of fun as well, right? People hanging out, having a good time.
That's what people say.
That's the word on the street. Very good. So listeners that maybe aren't familiar with you, I'm sure would like to hear about your background. Can you give us a brief background on your business or work experience previous to building online businesses?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in California. I'm in a city called Fresno, California. We try not to talk about that too often. But when I turned 18, I went down to San Diego, went to UC San Diego and studied to be an electrical engineer. And that was cool. No, it wasn't cool. I'll be honest about that.
It's a lot of math.
Yeah, a lot of math and a lot of just thinking about things that you'll never be able to see. So not very exciting, very theoretical. After I got my bachelor's degree, I ended up going into the field. And then I quickly saw what it looks like being an engineer. I see, okay, this guy has this job title and he has this degree and this is the kind of responsibility he has. And he is completely stressed out and a full head of gray hair and he's 35. So I completely saw that mapped out, but still being a young and hungry rat racer, I was like, okay, I want to make more money. I want to work up this ladder. So I went and got the master's degree. And then true enough, as per my predictions and my observations being in the industry a short amount of time, once I got my master's degree, it was just more of the same. More hours per week instead of 40. I've moved up to 60, more tasks to take care of. And I just saw everything all mapped out for me. And it got kind of dark. I don't have those traits that will allow a lot of people to comfort themselves in a bad job. I never was a big spender. I would never work hard and then just reward myself with a Benz or something like that. So I just had the bad end of the stick in both directions. So at this certain breakdown point, I just decided to look into other avenues on making money. I even went to the extent of learning how to be a yoga teacher. I learned yoga and I actually taught yoga for a long time.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is definitely not a mistake. I mean, I still carry those benefits with me into my 40s, which I am now. But the truth is, teaching yoga is pretty hard to make money, especially sustainable money.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was started to look into other avenues to making money online. At that point in time, the solution for me was freedom of time and freedom of location. So making money online from a laptop and especially passive income was really seductive to me. So the first thing I looked into was affiliate marketing through search engine optimization. And that's where I got my feet wet with this whole industry I'm in now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what was your first online venture, your first website? You sort of discovered it, I assume, you read blogs and maybe sort of were on the forums and tried to figure things out. But what was the first small success that you had with your affiliate website?
Okay, so let's highlight the word small.
Yeah.
Let's just say the first website that made me more than $1. So there was this course called the 30-Day Challenge. It was run by a marketer named Ed Dale. And really cool concept is you opt in, right? And then each day they're going to send you a new email, which is a different step in the process of creating an affiliate site. By the end of it, you're building links and stuff like that. And at 30 days, if you've completed the challenge, you've made $1 online. So they were using what was that? Market Samurai. So I was doing keyword research, and the whole name of the game was, like type in something you love, some kind of niche you're into. So I typed in yoga and travel, and there was search volume for it. So I made a EMD called yogatravel.com or maybe yoga-travel.com. I can't even remember. So it ranked number one for yoga and travel. And I ended up monetizing it a little bit by, I think AdSense didn't even work. And then I tried putting like an Amazon store on there and selling yoga mats. That didn't really work. But then eventually selling like, I guess, sponsored posts for yoga retreats and for them to post up and, have eyes on their yoga retreat in Bali or whatever that is.
That's awesome. I think I actually remember that 30-day challenge with Ed Dale from back in the day. And so you got your first small taste of success with the yoga and travel site. Explain what happened from there. Like, what did you do to build your portfolio? What type of success did you have with your affiliate sites?
Yes. So the yoga travel thing didn't make that much money. I think I ended up giving up on it like 6 months later. It just wasn't sustainable taking, like trying to go out and do research and trying to find yoga retreats, pitching them on it and just getting like $100 or $200 a pop for it. Just wasn't scalable. So I ended up letting it go, and I'm pretty sure it's a PBN now. It's funny. I'll go check it out after this. And then, after that, I think I tried a few more things, but the first thing that really took hold was just, I'm going to review products on Amazon. So again, what's important to me? I had a bad back from engineering and sitting in a cubicle for so long. So ergonomics was important to me. So I started researching and reviewing ergonomic chairs, and then eventually ranked number one for best ergonomic chairs. And then that's when 4 figures and eventually 5 figures a month started pouring in.
Awesome. So was that about the same time or at what point did you quit your job and start, traveling? Were you already doing that when you were building this site?
Yeah, it was right about the same time. So a lot of serendipitous things happened. First off, the startup company that I was working for got acquired. So I had a whole bunch of virtual stocks. So those became tangible and real, got a nice paycheck.
Okay.
And second of all, cash flow was going good. And the passive income sites, the best ergonomic chairs site, they were making a few $1,000s a month. And then I also started investing in some turnkey real estate. So I bought a couple like 100K properties that were bringing in $1,000 a month. So I'm like, all right, here it is. It's all lined up. Stars are aligned. I have passive income that I don't work for, passive income that I do need to put some effort into, and then a whole bunch of cash in the bank. And then I was so timid. I was still like such a conservative mind that I did the math to figure out when I would run out of money if I didn't continue making $1 online. It was something like 67 years old. And I was like, I don't know if I should do it, but I ended up doing it anyways. I sold all my stuff, sold my whole condo worth of stuff, almost all my belongings. Just there's photos at my grandma's house. That's about it that I kept, and then just started traveling full time.
And about what year was this?
I want to say this is like 2011, something like that.
Okay. And have you been all over the place, or has it been primarily a couple places like Thailand and a couple others?
Definitely doing a lot of work in Asia. I've spent some time. I spent about 3 months in Japan, a few months in Bali, but for a vast majority of it, it's been in Thailand. And ever since the first time I went to Thailand, as soon as I touched down, it felt like home. So it makes sense that I ended up here.
So what is it about Thailand that makes it either feel like home or just makes it feel, what's the draw? Like, why do you want to stay and work in the particular area of business you are?
So the first draw was Thailand's nickname is the land of smiles. And I didn't know what that meant until I came here and I just interacted with people. They truly are genuinely kind without motive. And that's an intoxicating thing. When you see other travelers come here that, live stressful lives, their mindset switches too. And you just get a completely different vibe because everyone's treating each other good. So I was like, yeah, this is something I want all the time. So when I first came to Chiang Mai, I actually had it in my head that I was going to start just scale back. I had my best ergonomic chair sites, and they, when an affiliate site's rocking and rolling, you barely need to give it any attention. So I was like, I'm going to keep those on chill mode, and I'm going to live off my rental income and dip into my cash and just have a nice little coconut lifestyle going on. Ended up not doing that. Turns out it's just kind of rough not having a goal and not proceeding towards something. I think it's just not a good way to be. And then once I started deciding I need to see who lives here, I need to see if there's any SEOs, do a little networking. I realized that Chiang Mai already was a huge epicenter for digital marketing and SEO in particular. At the time, there was Viper Chill, Glenn Alsop living here, Daryl Rosser, Diggy Durr, Kurt Phillip, Rob Atkinson, just a whole bunch of big players already in SEO. So I was just like, okay, I thought I was going to retire and chill out, but it turns out I'm in like some SEO mecca. So let's get it back on.
Nice. And get it back on. You did for sure. So maybe walk us through now, just take a couple of minutes to sort of round out the story in terms of, okay, you've moved to Chiang Mai, the ergonomic chair site and, maybe a couple others are doing well, but you decided, okay, I'm going to sort of buckle down. I'm in the SEO community. Take us from that point, like, okay, whatever that year is, I don't know, 2012 or whatever, to where you are now and what your business is involved in today. Sure.
So yeah, back then, the main ranking strategy that I was really leveraging was PBNs. And I had like a fairly big PBN network, like 200 sites, something like that. And yeah, a buddy of mine was like, well, do you want to try monetizing these? Because, you're only using one link from one site and, there's a lot to gain from that and maybe selling some links. So we decided to set up a PBN business called Diggity Links. And that expanded very, very, very big. I don't really want to talk numbers, but it was doing really good by itself. And that kind of cash flow was allowing me to expand my portfolio. So at a certain point in time, we decided, okay, I'll also start partnering with a buddy of mine, Kurt Phillip. He now runs Convertica, and we'll make an agency called LeadSpring. And LeadSpring is completely focused on building and ranking and monetizing affiliate sites and lead gen sites. So we had the cash flow from the PBN business, and we started just working on LeadSpring, building up a portfolio. LeadSpring eventually ran into some sticky spots because we just had the wrong model. We had this idea in our head that we would have this portfolio, and sure, we're starting off with an ergonomic chair site, and we'll add new ones in there, and eventually we'll get to 15K a month, and then after that we're going to want to scale up and get to 30K a month, and that was the whole idea. But in this kind of model, what you end up doing is you take all that profit and you spend it all because you're trying to get to the next level. So on the way to 100K a month or whatever the idea is, you're basically enjoying no profit because you're hungry. You're a hungry business.
Right.
So, and then the whole time you're doing that, your staff, you got to get more staff to manage things. There's more expenses all the time. So it becomes a big encumbering beast and just gets a little bit sticky along the way. So once we changed our model to the flip model and started meeting, the Empire Flippers were good partners with now, good friends with now. They helped sponsor the conference this year and since the beginning. Then we got this flip model and we're just realizing, okay, we can get these websites up to a certain point and then cash out on them for 30x multiple, get all our resources back, then chuck it into another site. That started to make things take off for LeadSpring. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. Eventually, it decided to exit out of the PBN game. So I sold my shares for Diggity Links and then entered in a new partnership with this guy, Pete King, to establish Authority Builders. Authority Builders is a link service for white hat outreach links. So Authority Builders is still rocking and rolling right now. I started an agency called the Search Initiative, where this is a client-facing agency. Most of the SEOs we train up are based out of London. They're all college-educated, really, really smart guys. So the agency I've always wanted to build, and we were able to build that, and created a course called the Affiliate Lab. And then one thing led to another, and then I was silly enough to start a conference.
Right.
So that's where we're at now.
Awesome. So yeah, got your hands on a lot of things, keeping you busy for sure. A little bit more from just, sipping on the coconuts all week. But I think I'm similar to you in that you always got to have something that you're working on, something that you're shooting for, right? And growing and improving and having those goals is important, like you said. So I do want to talk a little bit just, I guess, about LeadSpring. That still is kind of the entity, I guess, that you're using to build or acquire and flip affiliate websites, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how many sites do you currently own or are currently working on sort of under LeadSpring?
I would say we have about 9 in our portfolio right now, and we're currently working on about 5 of them. The remaining 4 just in the chill status, waiting for them to show some life, and then we'll give them the attention when they are asking for it.
So what's the model? Do you build everything from scratch? Are you buying existing sites? How long do you hold it? And when do you decide to sell it?
That's a super interesting question. So epiphany number 1 with LeadSpring was deciding to flip. Epiphany number 2 was deciding not to build. So what we understood, and I would say if this doesn't happen to you, you're either lying or very lucky. But as SEOs, I'm not 100% on my success when I'm building a new website from scratch.
Right.
Sometimes it goes good, sometimes it doesn't. So the worst thing when we started doing our calculations on expenses, the biggest expense we have is human resource. So we hired really awesome A players. So the worst thing we can do is waste their time on a site that doesn't pan out, or a site that's in the sandbox that isn't, chucking along and moving along. So we decided to start purchasing websites. They could be websites that are generating cash, or they could be websites that are not generating cash. I don't really care either way, but I just want them to be outside the sandbox. And I want to see that when we start them, they already have some keywords on page 1. Google won't put anything they like or anything they don't like on page 1. So that's simply a good sign for me.
Totally.
If they have some keywords.
And so you are now acquiring, and is there a specific revenue that you're looking for, or is it more just you're opportunistic, right? Like it might not be making any money, but we see a lot of opportunity, or we are definitely looking for sites only making $2,000 a month and more.
Yeah. So the cash flow or how much revenue they make isn't really that important. The more that the multiples for buying websites right now is quite extraordinary. Like a lot of sites are selling for 40x monthly profit. So if you buy a site that's making $2,000 a month, you're looking to pay 70 to 80K for that in some chances. So I even try to look for sites that aren't making that much money. I mean, the ultimate website to get your hands on is something that's pulling a lot of traffic, that has a great links going to it, but hasn't figured out how to monetize yet. Those are just a little bit hard to find, but not as hard as you might think. The criteria I use when buying websites is really, really simple. I can figure this out in seconds, whether I want to buy a site. Is first, is it in a niche I want to be in?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of have a feel for that. I like niches that are game changers for people: health, wealth, relationships. So is it in that kind of niche? And is the domain broad enough? Like, I'm not interested in going for best wireless routers because it's too niche, but something like techguru.com, where I can get into anything technology, that's broad enough for me. So niche I want to be in. As I said before, it just needs to have some kind of keywords on page one to show that it's in Google's good graces. And then I'm just looking for a clean white hat backlink profile. As I stated, I clearly have no problem with gray hat techniques, but if it's gray hat, I want it to be my stuff.
Right. You want to have done it and put it there, right? So you don't have to clean up somebody's mess potentially.
Sure.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. And so what do you do when you buy a site? Is there a very specific strategy that you're following in terms of content, right? Like, do you get a site and say, all right, we're going to throw 50 new pieces of content on this thing and see what happens? Or what's your process there?
Yeah, stage one is we use a technique we call the super audit. It's not very creative, but it is super and it is audit. So that's how it got its name. But basically what we're doing there is there's a series of steps that's just to operate on the site itself, not add anything new, to make sure we're running a tight ship. So the fastest thing to do is just do a technical audit, because that stuff is quite night and day, just cleaning up 404 errors, making sure we're not wasting crawl budget, looking at index bloat, keyword cannibalization issues, stuff like that. Maybe dressing up thin content or just de-indexing thin content. That's going to get you a lot of quick wins right away, just because you make Google's life easier. They're going to reward you, that kind of stuff. And then we have a pretty well written and thorough content SOP. So this was a big thing at Chiang Mai SEO conference, is that Google still can't read. Google is still a parser, and parser basically looks at content as code. So where are we putting content, or are we putting the content in the right places as per syntax? Are we putting keywords in the right meta title and description? Are we putting the right words in the content? We're using Surfer's True Density to look at TF-IDF type stuff and making sure that we have the right balance of the right words in the right places. Are we addressing all the subtopics that are required to answer the query? So let's say this example I've used before, how to lose belly fat. If I'm trying to rank for how to lose belly fat, if you look at the top 10 rankers, if you look at their H2s, you'll see various subtopics come up, like you should avoid trans fats, or you should get some exercise, or you should take a vitamin. All these kind of things are different subtopics that are required to answer the query, how to lose belly fat. So we're going to do this research, and we're going to make sure, okay, the guys in the top 5 positions all talk about these 14 subtopics. Then we'll also look at the bottom of the SERP, and we'll see related searches. Oh, you should also talk about how to do it naturally versus with supplementation. So, okay, we need a subtopic in that. And then we'll look at the people also ask and see, one of the most important questions is, how can you do it in 3 weeks? So maybe we need a time-based subtopic. So we'll have this master list of subtopics, and we'll make sure our pieces of content all fit that. Now, this takes a while. This takes a long while to go through and audit all the content, but I would say this is our biggest payoff in terms of ranking, and it can happen pretty quickly. I mean, on-site changes can kick in within a month, whereas off-site changes take a while.
Yeah.
And after that step, we want to try to recoup our investment as fast as possible. So we do what's called baseline conversion rate optimization. So this is not A/B testing. I'm not interested in doing any experiments. I'm just rolling out the things that I know are going to help the sites, things that I've done in the past that just are guaranteed to work. So a really quick tip that, I talked about this in my Facebook group recently, is just the less information you give the readers about the product that you're reviewing, the more they're going to need to click on your affiliate link to figure that out. So when you're using Amazon API and displaying price, guess what they get to see? Okay, this costs $20 on Amazon. I don't need to click this button to figure that out. Maybe I'll go shopping later.
Gotcha.
But if you don't show them that stuff, they click on it. They're going to get your cookie. They might buy it later. Or they might buy a computer later. It doesn't matter. You got their cookie, you get their sale. So really optimizing stuff like that. One big thing that's a huge game changer is really having solid color discipline. So if your website's blue, for example, you want to look on the other end of the color wheel and find some opposite but complementary colors, maybe red, maybe orange, something like that, and use those for your call to actions. They're going to pop off the page. And then don't use those call to action colors anywhere else on the site. What that does is trains the viewer to only take action when they see certain colors, namely when you make money. Check out the Wirecutter. They do this amazingly. All the red links on their site make them money. Anything that's not red doesn't make them any money. So basically roll out those things and cross your fingers and see what happens.
Right. So a couple of follow-up questions with things that you said there. So I think I heard you mention Surfer SEO. Is that right? For kind of the semantic keyword type things that you're referencing, right? Similar tool to MarketMuse is another one. MarketMuse is very high end though. But I've heard good things about Surfer SEO. So yeah, I just want to make sure I heard that right. And then for your super audit, as you call it, is there any place people can go, either a resource that you have or just a resource that you know somebody else has for what they should look at to do a similar audit on their website? I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in that.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to pitch. This isn't a proper place for that, but it is completely covered in the Affiliate Lab, my course.
Yep.
Other good references might be, I mean, everything is available online for free. You can piece it together yourself and develop it yourself. I think probably, I'll dig into that. I'll send you some resources for your link, your resources section later, but okay. Nothing's coming off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, that's fine. There are a lot of, on-page SEO things that can be done. And certainly I think people just thinking about that, a lot of people probably buy a website and just maybe don't think about that, right? They just kind of move directly to, I asked you the question, what do you do first? I asked, do you add new content? I think that's what a lot of people do. And you're like, no, we do an audit first, right? And so I think if people just think about that and like you said, they can either find resources or we'll try to have some in the notes. That's a good first step. So I do want to dive into some specific SEO strategies beyond, on-page SEO as well. You are Matt Diggity. I can't have you on the podcast and not ask about link building. So we got to do that. So let's jump right to the sort of meaty subject of link building. I know a lot of people want to hear about that. They, talk about that a lot. What is maybe one of your top 1 or 2 link building strategies that you always go to and recommend for people?
Sure. I would say compartmentalize the way you're looking at links between a few different categories. Number one, let's just break it down into 3. I would say number 1 would be relevance. So always go for links that have relevance. Relevance is pretty damn easy to get. You're getting relevance from the article you're getting a link from. So if you get a link from an article about golf, Google thinks you're a little bit more about golf. But even more important than that is getting a link from a website about golf. So that's, if we had to choose between one or the other, typically you don't, you get both of them, but a link from a website that is relevant to you is a little bit harder to attain. So getting that one is a little bit better. So relevance is the first thing, and that's pretty darn easy to get. You also get relevance from your anchor text too, as I'm sure everyone has noticed. When they send a target anchor text, it's the most powerful thing. So then after that, it's trust. So trust, there's a concept that was baked into the algorithm years ago that a link can imbue a certain level of trust based on the distance that link is from a set of manually curated seed sites. So if we think about things like the New York Times is probably one of these manually curated seed sites. So if you get a link from New York Times, you get a bunch of trust. But if you get a link from a website that has a link from New York Times, that's also a fair bit of trust. But another way I like to think about this is getting links from sites that rank themselves. So Ahrefs did a really interesting study finding that only 91% of the internet has traffic. Now, I think that's an overestimation because Ahrefs isn't keeping track of all the crap on the internet. They clean up their index and get rid of a lot of spam. Mm-hmm. So it's probably even less than 9%. So one could argue rankings and traffic is one of those things that Google is most stingy about. So I would say that if Google likes a website enough to give it rankings and traffic, then of course it's okay with its outbound links. So that's a second pillar that I'm going for, is trust. And trust is important through the whole lifetime of your website, but especially in the sandbox phase, when the name of the game is to build trust and establish trust. You're not trying to power your way. You're not trying to rush it in the sandbox. You want to build links that are trustworthy. So focus hard on getting links from sites that are ranking up traffic. I typically go for 1,000 traffic or more. And then after that, Google's algorithm is very still saturated with this concept called PageRank, which is, the first patent that was published by Larry Page back in prehistoric days or whatever. So PageRank is basically how many links do your links have, or how powerful are your links? And it's just this concept that, link juice will flow around the internet, and getting links from web pages that have a lot of links going from them will deliver more power. So that's the third pillar, is power. So getting links from websites, web pages with links. So you can use gray hat techniques like PBNs. That's when you're getting links from home pages. But if you want to keep it clean, one easy way to do it is outreaching for getting links in articles that already exist. So you can outreach and you can get a hold of someone and say, hey, really like this article. We're starting a website on this. We have this article that might be a great resource for your readers, and wonder if you would link to it from your article. Now, their article might be up for years already. It might have 10 links going to it already. So that's going to be a fair bit of power if you get a link from that page. Bear in mind that example pitch I just gave is useless. That's probably something that every webmaster gets every day. So You got to think outside the box, with these kind of things. But yeah, so that's a good summary of how I like to compartmentalize things. Relevance, trust, and power. You don't have to get all three of these things from the same backlink, but your backlink profile needs to have all three of these things to compete, at least compete efficiently and effectively.
Yep. Absolutely. No, great summary, great overview there of the type of links to try and acquire or try to get for your website. How do you go about, getting those links, right? You mentioned that, you can outreach, and webmasters are getting, outreach emails, 10 times a day, and they ignore most of them. So is outreach the way to go? What methods are you using to actually get links that sort of meet this criteria that you specified?
Yeah, so it kind of does need to be outreach. It doesn't kind of does. It does need to be outreach, because a big factor in this whole thing is you need links from sites that have rankings, and black hat sites, fake sites, and PBNs typically will not have any kind of rankings at all. So it needs to be a website that exists, that has a real webmaster that owns it, that's adding content, that's doing the same thing you are, and building links so that website can have traffic. So typically you got to outreach for that kind of thing. Now, as you pointed out, people are getting spammed all the time. So the name of the game is, how do I look different than everyone else? Right. How do I stand out from everyone else? So that was another big thing at Chiang Mai SEO this year, is thinking outside the box. So for example, let's say we're pitching for a guest post, right? Typical guest post pitch looks like this. Hey, I'm a writer. I'm a freelancer. I've written on these few websites. I would like to write a piece for you. I think your audience would love it. Here's a few titles that I'd be interested in writing. Are you interested? Right?
Yep.
Everyone's inbox has about 50 of those if you don't get to zero inbox. So there's nothing special about that. But how about we switch things up and do it like this? So you can use Ahrefs to look at this link prospect. You can look at this website that you want the link from. And then you can do a gap analysis, content gap analysis, just to figure out competitors that they have in the niche with less authority. What are the competitors ranking for that this guy currently hasn't written about yet? So let's restate this. So let's imagine I want a link from this guy with a DR70 website, and he has competitors around DR30, DR40, whatever, that are ranking for stuff in the same niche. But the guy who I want the link from simply hasn't written about that yet. So then I can present this research in the pitch and say, hey, I notice your competitors are ranking for these 4 topics here, and they have nowhere near the authority you do. How about I write this piece for you? I've actually done this before on 4 different websites. You show different examples of this, and we can get you ranking and get some nice traffic for your website. Now that's a win-win. That's a true win-win. People get pitched all the time for content ideas, but just like you, would you have any random Joe write some content for you? No, you're curating the crap out of your own content before it goes on your site. But if someone's already proven to you and already proven to Google that they can write content that ranks, okay, let's give this guy a shot. Now that's thinking outside the box. That's getting through these inbox clutter.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. That's a great example of how to be a little bit different. Definitely how to stand out. I think that's a great strategy. Thanks for sharing that. And I know that some of this applies to what you're building over at authority.builders as well, right? I mean, you've done a lot of outreach and made a lot of connections with webmasters. So maybe talk a little bit about Authority Builders there. And I got to ask the question, would you consider Authority Builders a white hat link building service?
Yeah. Okay. So first let's talk about Authority Builders, and I'll get to the awkward question. All right. So yeah, Authority Builders' whole concept is going for links that have trust, right? So every website in our inventory pulls at least 1,000 visitors or more traffic. Now, traffic is not a necessary factor to rank websites. Like if that were the case, PBNs wouldn't work. PBNs have 0 traffic, but we all know they still work very, very well. So why did we decide to focus on this? Because Google has said many, many times that you don't need to disavow anymore. We're solid we've completely figured out how to analyze and ignore spammy links, right? So Google's blatantly said that they can ignore a lot of links. Right. Well, here's a way to ensure that your links aren't getting ignored. If your links have traffic and rankings, they're not going to be in that ignore bucket. So we're getting links from websites with traffic that's given us trust, and we can guarantee they're not getting ignored. And that's why our customers are always consistently getting good results, because there's no chance that they're just not having an effect. So that's what the concept is. We've also implemented this new service called ABC Plus. We'll do the analysis on what links you need to rank, and we'll also choose the anchors for you. It's like a completely hands-off service, and that's taking off. Now, to the question, is it a white hat service? This whole thing is like a semantic debate. Like, who's asking, and what do you consider white hat? If it's a Google purist, then if you take any effort to build a link, whether it's writing content for someone else and then trading content for a link, or even outreaching to someone and saying, you have a broken link there, how about you fix it and link to me? That's all not white hat. You're just supposed to write content, and then links are supposed to magically come in because your content's so amazing. And that happens no time ever in the history of the world. So if you take that point of view, we're not white hat. If you take the opposite point of view, where, if a lot of people just agree, if it's coming from real websites, not link farms, not Web 2.0 generated stuff, not spam, then that would be considered white hat. So I guess it just depends who you ask, but I try not to get mixed up in semantic debates. I'd rather just rank websites and make money.
That sounds good to me. I had to ask. People have asked me, and so it's somewhere along that spectrum. I think you explained it really well. So people can decide for themselves along that spectrum where they are, right?
Sure.
So now that we've talked about white hat link building a little bit, and you even mentioned that, you are still fine doing some gray hat. I don't know if you're doing any black hat, but what is some gray or black hat link building that is working right now? Whether or not you do this or not, what are you hearing that is working right now?
Sure. So from the gray hat category, we still have PBNs. So PBNs is like purchasing expired and auction domains and using them to place homepage links, which typically have a lot of links going to them, hence a lot of power. That still works very, very well. I wouldn't build a backlink profile that's 99% PBN links because Google's algorithm got a little bit smarter, and they know that these links are coming from homepages. Homepage links are really, really rare. So if you have a huge majority, that doesn't look good, and you're just going to get stuck or caught eventually. So you got to blend it in with a bunch of outreach or links from inner pages, however you want to put it. And then other tactics that still work is, like 301 redirects and, buying up expired domains and 301 redirecting to your homepage or a portion of the site. That still works really, really well. And that I guess I would consider gray hat, whatever you want to call it. In terms of black hat, I mean, it's the biggest thing is, hacked links and buying hacked links that exist because of WordPress plugin vulnerabilities or just non-updated WordPress, or maybe just username and passwords get leaked and stuff, and buying them on the dark web and that kind of stuff. And you can get links for pretty cheap that way, and they're hacked, and that's an ethical question. If you want to get into that, I don't touch it.
Right. Yeah. No, interesting. I mean, there are vulnerabilities. There are people that are out there. There's a market for links, right? And so whether somebody is finding a vulnerability to use for themselves or to sell on the market, right? I mean, people take opportunities and run with it either way. So,
yeah.
Okay, very good. Enough about the different color hats of link building. So I do want to talk just a little bit more about on-page SEO. And you covered a decent amount there, but are there any other common on-page SEO mistakes that people make or that people miss that can have a big impact on rankings?
Yeah. So just to reiterate, I think the easiest way to get a good head start on-page SEO is run a tool like Surfer, which is going to analyze your page and give you a playbook on what you need to change and tweak in order to blend in with the top rankers on page one. So that's the beauty of it. You don't need to be a master at understanding SEO, but you can run a Surfer report and you'll see, okay, these guys are using these kind of keywords in these places. I haven't used the word blah, blah, blah at all in my content, whereas the competitors in the top 5 positions each use it 7 times. So blending in with page one seems to be the name of the game. The reason that's working so well is because Google's started to become very structured in what they like to put on page one. Like if you Google best ping pong tables, you're probably going to see a listicle in every single position in the top 5 positions. So looking and seeing what's working and mimicking that works really, really well. The second thing I would say is it's not just about optimizing those single pages. It's really what's really important is your site architecture and the site structure and building a lot of supporting content for the pages you want to rank. If you want to rank, let's say you're a website about surfing, for example, and you want to rank a page about the best scuba diving mask or something like that, just because you write one piece of content on scuba diving doesn't mean you deserve to rank for it. So you really need to, quote unquote, build out that silo. I know Spencer's really good at this. You want to just create more pieces of content around the things that you want to rank, and they can link to each other and establish more topical relevance for each other. So interlinking, make sure you're linking from only to things that you want to rank and linking to things that are relevant. So you wouldn't link from surfing to scuba diving, but you would find all the scuba diving pieces on your site, interlink them together. More links are going to the pillar pieces and stuff like that. It's really hard to describe this, I'm realizing, without some kind of diagram, but I went there and I'm trying.
No.
But yeah, site architecture is huge.
Yeah, no, I think it makes sense. It made sense to me. So we'll let the listeners decide. But absolutely, sort of, yeah, you explained it well. The interlinking, to help establish, different topics, to establish yourself as an authority in different topics in different areas is a big one for sure. So what other SEO strategies or tips do you want to share that perhaps I haven't asked you about so far?
I mean, I got a lot to say about building business and managing people and stuff like that. At the end of the day, unless you're a solo operator, and you're going to end up hiring someone, and that always is a sticky point for any person in their growth process of business. I think it's worth it sooner rather than later to get your ducks in a row and figure out how can I efficiently do this? What do I need to know? What inspires people? So I can recommend first a book. So
Okay.
E-Myth is a great book to learn about processes and the importance of a standard operating procedure, an SOP. You're going to get very familiar with that term. So yeah, like learning about the importance of that, but also really understanding people. All people are different. Some people are better with spreadsheets. Some people are better with talking, and some people are motivated by money. Some people are motivated about feeling good. So putting people in the right positions is really key if you want to have any kind of high output and high retention and not having people leave your company, which, like I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, my biggest expense is human resource. And I'm happy to do that because, at the end of the day, when your goals are being met, the really value in this business and in this whole adventure that we're taking is bringing other people along with you. And I think that keeps it interesting forever. At a certain amount of time, SEO might get boring to me, but bringing people along and seeing people grow will never get boring. So it's a sustainable decision too.
I love it. I love that thought. That's important to think about, certainly as you're building a team, building a business. Great thought there. So what is next for you and your business? Is it just more of the same, more sites, continuing to run the conference? You got your hands full already. Not that you need to do anything else, but is there anything, what is the future? What do you see in your future for your business?
Yeah. So if you asked me about 2 weeks ago, I probably would say, more mergers and acquisitions, buying more sites, flipping more sites. But, like one of my buddies, Travis Jameson, he had a great speech at Chiang Mai SEO about how big can you go with content sites, and what he showed the math on what you get when you when you build out multiple traffic channels, multiple monetization channels. At the end of the day, NerdWallet is a content affiliate site. Like all these huge websites that exit for like 8 figures, 9 figures are just content affiliate sites. So I think the name of the game is I'm going to try to take one of these to the stratosphere, see how big we can go with that. And it'll be a new adventure too. So that's probably in the books.
Awesome.
I highly recommend getting Travis on the podcast too. This guy.
I know Travis. He is amazing. But please gush over him. I already agree, but
awesome. Yeah. I feel like what we're doing now, he was doing 3 years ago. So he's always a step ahead, and he's got good foresight into the future. Maybe taking that site to the stratosphere. And then I got a bun. I don't have a bun in the oven. My wife has a bun in the oven. So
congrats.
Trying to see what that adventure has in store.
Right. Yeah, man. Kids can change a lot, for sure. This is your first, I take it?
Yeah.
Yep. That can change a lot of things, for sure. But awesome, man. No, it's great to sit down with you and chat, hear about your business, what you're building, what you're growing, potentially what the future brings. I hope that all those plans go well. And if you want to send people anywhere, if they want to stay in touch with you or get in touch with you, what's the best place for them to go? What website or social media place should they connect with you on?
Yeah, I would say come to diggitymarketing.com, and you can read my blog and stuff like that. If you want to connect on social, I'd say the place I'm most active is my Facebook group called The Lab. And I got a YouTube channel too, so you can watch some videos there. And I'm a little bit active on Twitter if that's your gig as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt, for coming on the Niche Pursuits podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
The pleasure's mine.
Thank you once again for listening to the Niche Pursuits podcast. As a reminder, this episode has been sponsored by Ezoic. Ezoic is a Google award-winning technology that everyone from niche website owners to major brands use to grow and monetize their websites. Ezoic is a Google certified publishing partner. It's a platform that leverages artificial intelligence to help you optimize revenue and monetization on a per visitor basis, and so much more. If you want to check out Ezoic, go to nichepursuits.com/Ezoic. Again, that's nichepursuits.com/Ezoic. Thanks a lot.